In the ancient village of Gbadebo, where the red earth met the sky and the baobab trees stood like silent guardians of time, there lived a woman named Adaeze. She was born on the night when 2 moons appeared in the sky, a phenomenon the elders said occurred once in 100 years. Her mother died bringing her into the world, and her father, a humble farmer named Okonkwo, raised her alone with a love that could fill the emptiness left by her mother's absence. Adaeze grew into a beautiful woman with skin like polished mahogany and eyes that seemed to hold depths no one could fathom. But there was something different about her, something that made the other villagers whisper behind cupped hands and avoid her gaze in the marketplace. From the age of 7, Adaeze began to see things that had not yet happened. At first, they were small visions, fleeting images that would flash before her eyes like lightning across a stormy sky. She would see her father's crops wilting 3 days before the drought came. She would see her neighbor's child falling from a tree moments before it happened, giving her just enough time to catch the boy. The village elders consulted the oracle, an ancient woman named Mama Kande, who lived at the edge of the forest, where the spirits were said to dance at midnight. Mama Kande examined Adaeze, looked deep into her strange knowing eyes, and declared that the girl had been touched by the ancestors. She carried the gift of foresight, a blessing that was also a curse, for to see tomorrow meant to carry the weight of knowledge that others were spared. As Adaeze grew older, her visions became stronger and more frequent. She would wake in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, having seen disasters that would befall the village. She warned people of coming storms, of illnesses that would strike, of conflicts that would arise between families. Sometimes they listened, sometimes they didn't, and when her predictions came true, the villagers began to fear her even as they needed her. By the time Adaeze reached the age of 20, she had saved countless lives but had also become isolated. For who could love a woman who knew your secrets before you spoke them, who could see your end before you lived your beginning? Young men admired her beauty from afar but dared not court her. Women sought her counsel but never her friendship. She lived in a prison of sight, seeing everything except the one thing she desperately wanted to see, her own happiness. Then one day, during the Harmattan season, when the air was thick with dust and the wind carried whispers from distant lands, a stranger came to Gbadebo. His name was Chima, and he was a trader from a neighboring kingdom, traveling through the villages to sell his wares of fine cloth, precious stones, and exotic spices. He was tall and strong, with a laugh that could chase away shadows and eyes that sparkled with mischief and warmth. When Chima first saw Adaeze in the marketplace, he was struck not by her beauty alone, but by the sadness that seemed to linger around her like morning mist. He approached her boldly, something no man in the village had done for years, and asked to buy her the finest cloth from his collection. Adaeze looked at him, and in that moment, something extraordinary happened. For the first time in her life, when she looked at someone, she saw nothing, no future, no vision, no glimpse of tomorrow. She saw only him, standing before her in the present moment, and the emptiness of not knowing felt like the most precious gift she had ever received. Chima began to visit Gbadebo regularly, always finding reasons to extend his stay.
Adaeze,
He would
where
seek
are you?
out Adaeze,
Has anyone
bringing
seen
her
Adaeze?
small gifts, telling her stories of his travels, making her laugh in ways she had forgotten were possible. For the first time, Adaeze experienced what it meant to live in the moment, to not know what the next day would bring. With Chima, she was not the woman who could see tomorrow. She was simply a woman falling in love. But the ancestors are not easily denied, and gifts given by the spirits always come with a price. One night, as Adaeze lay sleeping, a vision came to her so powerful and so terrible that she woke screaming, her father rushing to her side. She had seen Chima's death. In her vision, he was traveling through the forest on the road back to his village when he would be attacked by a wounded leopard, desperate and dangerous. She saw the exact bend in the road, the position of the sun, the way the leaves would scatter, and she knew with the certainty that had never failed her that this would happen in 3 days' time. Adaeze was faced with an impossible choice. If she told Chima about the vision, she would reveal her gift to him, the very thing that had driven everyone else away. He would see her not as the woman he loved, but as the seer, the strange one, the cursed one. But if she said nothing, he would die, and she would lose the only person who had ever made her feel truly alive. For 2 days, Adaeze wrestled with her decision, her heart torn between love and fear. She watched Chima prepare for his journey, packing his goods, speaking excitedly about returning soon with more treasures to show her. She saw the future she wanted, a future with him, crumbling like sand through her fingers. On the morning of the 3rd day, as Chima prepared to leave, Adaeze made her choice. She went to him and told him everything. She told him about the 2 moons on the night of her birth, about the visions that had plagued her since childhood, about the isolation and the fear. And then she told him about what she had seen, about the leopard and the forest and his death that awaited him on the road. Chima listened in silence, his face unreadable. When she finished, Adaeze waited for him to recoil, to look at her with the same mixture of fear and awe that everyone else did. But instead, he took her hands in his and smiled. He told her that he had suspected she was different, that he had seen the way the villagers treated her, the careful distance they maintained. He said that her gift did not frighten him, that knowing tomorrow did not change how he felt about today. And then he said something that would change everything. He asked her to come with him. Adaeze was stunned. Leave Gbadebo? Leave the only home she had ever known? But Chima explained that perhaps her gift was not meant to keep her trapped in one place, bearing the burden of everyone's future alone. Perhaps it was meant to help people across many villages, many kingdoms, and perhaps, with him by her side, the weight of seeing tomorrow would not feel so crushing. But there was still the matter of the vision. Chima suggested they travel together but take a different route, avoiding the forest road entirely. They would go through the mountains, a longer journey but a safer one. Adaeze felt hope kindle in her chest. Could it be so simple? Could she change what she had seen? They set out the next morning, Adaeze's father blessing them both with tears in his eyes, happy to see his daughter finally finding joy. They traveled through the mountains, the journey slow but filled with laughter and stories. Chima told her about his childhood, about his dreams of seeing every corner of the world. Adaeze told him about her visions, about the burden of knowledge, about the loneliness that had been her constant companion. On the 3rd day of their journey, they descended from the mountains and found themselves at a crossroads. One path led to Chima's village, the other continued along the mountain route. As they stood there deciding which way to go, an old woman approached them, bent with age and leaning heavily on a walking stick. She begged them for help. Her grandchild was sick in a village that lay beyond the forest, and she needed medicine that could only be found in Chima's village. She was too weak to make the journey alone. Chima, whose heart was generous, immediately offered to help. They would take the forest road, he said, as it was the fastest route, and they would escort the old woman to ensure her safety. Adaeze felt ice form in her veins. The forest road, the exact road from her vision. She grabbed Chima's arm and pulled him aside, reminding him of what she had seen. But Chima looked at the old woman, at her desperate eyes and trembling hands, and he said something that would test everything Adaeze believed about her gift. He said that perhaps some things were meant to happen not because they were destined, but because they were necessary. A child's life hung in the balance. Could they really choose their safety over that? Could Adaeze's gift of sight be used not to avoid fate, but to face it prepared? And so they entered the forest, the three of them walking along the winding road. Adaeze's heart pounded with every step, her eyes scanning the trees for any sign of danger. She knew the exact spot where it would happen, and as they approached it, she told Chima to ready himself. She told him about the leopard's injury, about how it would attack from the left side of the road, about the way it would leap. When they reached the bend in the road, everything happened exactly as Adaeze had seen it. The leopard emerged from the undergrowth, its body lean and scarred, desperation and pain in its amber eyes. But this time, they were ready. Chima had his spear raised, and Adaeze had positioned herself to shield the old woman. The leopard leaped, but Chima was prepared. He didn't kill the animal, but he wounded it enough to drive it back into the forest, where it retreated to nurse its injuries. They stood there in the aftermath, breathing hard, alive. The old woman thanked them with tears streaming down her face, and they continued on their journey. But something had changed for Adaeze. She realized that her visions had never been about seeing an unchangeable fate. They were about being given the knowledge to make a choice, to prepare, to act with courage instead of fear. When they finally reached Chima's village, Adaeze was welcomed not as a strange seer, but as a healer and a wise woman. Word spread of her gift, and people came from far and wide seeking her counsel. But now, instead of bearing the burden alone, she had Chima by her side, helping her interpret her visions, helping her guide others without losing herself in the process. Years passed, and Adaeze and Chima built a life together filled with love, purpose, and adventure. They traveled to many villages, helping those in need, warning of dangers, celebrating joys. Adaeze learned that seeing tomorrow did not mean she could control it, but it did mean she could face it with courage and preparation. And more importantly, she learned that the present moment, the here and now, with the person you love, was the most precious vision of all. She never forgot the village of Gbadebo, returning often to visit her aging father and to help her people. And though the villagers had once feared her gift, they came to understand that Adaeze had been blessed by the ancestors not to carry a burden alone, but to be a light in the darkness, a guide through uncertain times. In the end, the woman who could see tomorrow learned the most important lesson of all, that the future is not written in stone, but in the choices we make today, in the love we share, in the courage we summon when faced with the unknown. And though she could see what was coming, she learned to live fully in each moment, treasuring the present even as she glimpsed the future. This is the story of Adaeze, the woman who could see tomorrow, whose gift became not a curse but a blessing, not a prison but a path to freedom, love and purpose. And they say that on quiet nights, when the moon is full and the wind carries ancient whispers, you can still hear her voice echoing across the land, reminding us all that the greatest vision is not seeing what will be, but choosing what we will become.